Welcome, everybody, to the Seer and the Scholar. We are here to stoke the sparks of your brain and your soul every Monday night from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you know what we do here. We love to have great guests, great conversation, and great gifts. With that being said, I'm going to go into a little bit about our guest this evening. We have two amazing people here with us. We have Vera and Kendal Whelpton. Just if you guys don't know who they are, which you should, if you don't, you probably live under a rock. Um, they are the producers of The House in Between. And well, what we're going to do is they actually co-own Robot Ninja Media, and they are producers, like I said, of the documentary, the executive producers. It's a great thing. We're actually going to get into a little bit of that later. Before that, we're going to get into a little bit of their backgrounds as well, just to give you an idea of who they are. Vera Whelpton fell in love with the paranormal subject at an early age because her family always used to tell each other ghost stories at family gatherings, and these are the events that she looked forward to. While attending university back in the 90s, she got her start in filmmaking as a visual artist student, and her topic of choice was always the paranormal. Vera is also a nurse, and she has a profound paranormal experience while working in a nursing home, which we're also going to explore. The experience would be the event that led her to search for answers. And during this journey, Vera was also cast on a TV show, Ghost Hunters Academy, where she met and fell in love and married the cameraman, Kendal Whelpton, now husband of 9 years. Kendal Whelpton is the director of The House in Between, or he is a filmmaker, director, a director of photography, photographer, and business owner. Kendall has a signature his signature work is a vast range of networks, including Netflix, Nat Geo, Sci-Fi, Lifetime, A&E Discovery, the Travel Channel, Destination America, CMT, and Animal Planet. Kendall's eyes behind the camera give him the opportunity to shoot, produce, direct, and document some of the most interesting topics and places. As the owner, creator, and director of Robot Ninja Media, Kendall is involved in all the processes of documentary filmmaking. An ex-pro snowboarder competing and placing in the X Games, Kendall continues to charge the creative with his same competitive mindset as he did during that time in his life, adding to his vast experience in camera and directing. Some of the topics that he covers include international travel, tuna fishing, UFO research, which I am totally infatuated with myself, snowboarding, urban exploration, splunking, I think it is, and ghost hunting and the paranormal. Being embedded in some of these jobs with the best professionals has led Kendall to be very proficient in the paranormal field with over 600 high profile paranormal locations under his belt, and he has become an expert in the field of ghost hunting and the paranormal through osmosis. Through the many years of his camera work, and director of photography on the sci-fi show The Ghost Hunters, it gave Kendall a chance to follow the founders of ghost hunting in the group named TAPS with Jason Hoas, Grant Wilson, Steve Gonsalves, and starting very early on season 2 all the way through season 11, and the Ghost Hunters' newest reboot of season 1 and 2. Kendall's knowledge of ghost hunting continues as he remains in the paranormal as a filmmaker, director, and director of photography. With that being said, I am Rob Yox. With me always is Rescue Media Melinda. I'd like to introduce you guys and give a really warm welcome to Kendall and Vera Whelpton. How are you guys this evening?
Hey, we're doing pretty good.
Wow.
Uh, we try. I mean, I had the information right here on my fingertips, so it wasn't that easy. It wasn't that difficult. Just had to read a little bit. But, reading through that, guys, you are so versed in so many things behind and in front of the camera when it comes to paranormal investigation. Also, experiencers. The UFO research to me is absolutely incredible. And, just everything that you guys have done so far is it goes like I said with the marquee back here is you made your own story up to this point. So one of the things I'd love to explore with you guys tonight is to give us basically an in detail like play by play of your journey up to the making of this documentary film, and then we'll get into that as well a little bit later. But for people people know that you've done the film, people may not know about your pasts like that. So the first question I pose to you is, you know, when was that first inkling in you that we know Vera has some with the family stuff, but Kendall, what, and you can get a little more in depth with that, Vera, is when did that paranormal spark really spark inside of you to give you that drive to make these types of documentary films and or investigations?
Um, so yeah, it started probably back in the 90s. I grew up in upstate New York, Rochester area, and I was like Vera. Our family was super into the paranormal, ghost stories. We just grew. I grew up around it, and so moving out, graduating in '94, moving out of my house. I wanted to be a pro snowboarder, and I moved to Colorado, plain and simple. Was just going to get a job and work during the night and snowboard during the day. Well, I ended up finding a place up 10,000 feet in the mountains. It was a little beautiful little house, it looked like. My roommate and I moved in, and the first night I'm in the place, I have this profound experience where I'm laying on the floor because we didn't have a bed yet, and I have a sleeping bag over me, and there's no windows in the room that I was staying in, and this cold breeze just goes boom, like a big wind right over my face, ruffles my sleeping bag, and that was it. I was like, I took my sleeping bag, was like, and like hit out and didn't sleep the whole night. Was like, oh my God, this place is haunted. And so next morning I wake up, talk to my roommate. We're just like, that was weird. And then over the course of probably the next month, more stuff happens. More stuff like this place was like messing with us.
You haven't said what town?
Oh, Fairplay, Colorado, which is a little mining town outside of Breckenridge, Colorado. It's about an hour. It's in South Park, which is based on the cartoon South Park. So the town actually exists, and yeah, I didn't see Kenny or any of the characters running around, but I had experienced some paranormal activity in this place, and I got to work in a snowboard factory, and I started asking about what the place was, because it's just like kind of odd. Like the basement was really weird. It was just a basement where we do our laundry, but there was this huge table down there with like gutters on it, and there was like a hole in the floor, and it was just really odd. Anyway, I started asking about the place, and I find out that it's an old hospital. So half the town burnt down. It's an old hospital, and that's when really my brain started really going crazy about paranormal. And also in that town, there was a lot of UFO sightings and activity from the locals. The locals had talked about UFO activity. So I became fascinated with not only ghost stuff and experiences, but the UFO stuff as well. And I ended up moving from that place. I had a profound experience there that really, really shocked me. Something ripped off the wall and came at me with force. This picture just ripped. It was nailed to the wall, ripped off the wall. My cousin and I were in the place, and it came at us, and that was enough for me. I had enough of the place, and I actually never went back, and so moved out, and then after having that, not a lot of stuff had happened to me until I saw this post on Craigslist. I moved to Los Angeles after that, and I saw this post on Craigslist. I was a cameraman and a video editor. I had gone from snowboarding to camera work, and I was looking for a job. And this post said, "Ghost hunting show gearing up quick." And I was like, "Ooh, that sounds like right up my alley." I had this experience, and I applied to the job, and that was in 2004, I think, or 5. And then I got the job. I got interviewed and I got the job. And then I flew out like 3 days later. I quit my valet parking job. I quit everything.
That was in 2005?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's when I had my experience.
And really?
Yeah. That's so weird.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that was it. Like, and the show was Ghost Hunters. And I started on Ghost Hunters. I flew out to Savannah, Georgia. And we did the Sorrel Weed House, which is a very haunted place in Savannah, downtown. And man, it was like trial by fire. Just jumped right in. Jay, Grant, Steve, Tango, met them. Super nice. You know, I was scared as heck running around chasing these guys, like trying to figure out camera, trying to figure out the ghost stuff, trying to figure out like the flow. And man, it was an interesting experience. And I honestly thought I was gonna get fired. I was like, oh man, this is it for me. I'm gonna end up on the next plane home. And you know, a few years later, I end up sticking around, and I stuck around till just this last year. And yeah, just shot season 1 and 2 of Ghost Hunters, the reboot. I was with Ghost Hunters the original, and Ghost Hunters season 1 and 2 of this new one. And then back a little bit, I met I did Ghost Hunters for a while, and then I went into do a bunch of other ghost shows, and one ended up being Ghost Hunters Academy, which I was a cameraman on. And I started the show, and all these new paranormal investigators were getting thrown into the mix of paranormal investigation. And then I just, first day on set, I met this beautiful woman right here, and a few years later we're married. And
a few years later,
yeah,
1 year later.
1 year later, oh my gosh, yeah, that's right. It was love at first sight, and we just yeah, it was an amazing experience. And that's when I met Vera, and that's when the fun really began, was on our adventures of the future. So
That's amazing. You know, that's a great love story too, and how you guys found each other. I think that's truly amazing. I did see your video that you guys did, I think for Halloween, where you guys were the stick figures and that you guys were dancing around. It was. It seems like you guys have a lot of fun, and that's super important.
Yeah.
That's super important. You know.
It is.
Life's too short.
Life is way too short, man. Yeah, you're right.
Absolutely. I've been with my girlfriend for 12 years. You know, we've been through for a while together. We've been together for a very long time, and having that fun is really something that kind of gives us this dynamic where we can, you know, make it through anything. Really, you know, we always keep a smile on our faces and making each other laugh. It's a great thing, and it seems like you guys have that same kind of chemistry, which is really nice. It's really awesome.
Yeah. And we challenge each other.
That's good too.
And that's what makes it, that's like our working relationship. You know, it's been really awesome doing the documentary and starting our company and stuff. It's like, you know, she pushes me and I push her, and I learn from her and she learns from me. And it's like this progression that you know, when you work with somebody, you got to have that flow.
And we met at work. We met working. So
yeah, we
that
did.
Kind of
Yeah.
helps, you know, we respect our boundaries. You know, we don't overstep on each other's roles.
It's pretty. It's been cool. It's been really, really awesome with doing the projects and the company and stuff.
That's one of the, I believe, one of the good things about meeting each other at work is that dynamic is already set up for you to follow, and you guys took it even when you got married into your own business, and that's exceptional too. I mean, to me that's so one of the things that you have to work with, because you know, eventually when hopefully my podcast and things take off, I'll have, my girlfriend does HR, so she'll be on that aspect of it as well for me. But to work together all the time, I mean, we worked together, you know, through this last couple of months together all the time, and we were fine. But that dynamic is something that you have to work at. But you guys seem to fall into that from the beginning, which is pretty cool. That's definitely awesome. I'm going to let Melinda ask a question, because I know she's probably chomping at the bit to get some questions in, and I like to talk. So
that's okay, Rob. First, Kendal and Vera, Alice is watching, so I just wanted to let you guys know that she's watching. But one of the things that I found very interesting is what I would like to talk about briefly is about some of the places that you have investigated, especially Waverly. That is one of my favorite places. I have got to get there, but I love when you guys tell about your story there and what all happened there.
Go ahead. We met there.
So we met. That's where we met.
Yeah.
No, actually, no. We met in Louisville.
Yeah, but on the way to Waverly.
And the way to Waverly, yes. So Waverly was our first location ever.
Yeah.
And for me, I had never been in such a big location. I was super intimidated. I was just like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? This is crazy. Who does this? And you were just like la la la, like nothing. You just will walk into the dark and disappear into the darkness, and I'm just like, where did he go? He doesn't even have a flashlight. You would just be setting up cameras and doing things. I mean, I just admire you so much because you were just fearless and just working, and I think I also fell in love with production, just witnessing how the magic happens behind cameras, you know, in order to make a TV show happen. It was
Takes a crew.
fascinating.
Yeah.
But Waverly's amazing. I talk about EVPs. Rob said he loves EVPs. My goodness.
Yeah, you had a really
I
good
had
one
a
there.
really good one that I was never even able to show on TV. It never even made it to TV. And it was basically after we were done a scene and everybody started walking towards Crafty. We call Crafty, which is a break, take a
Snack
break.
table.
And snack table. So cameras are down, but I left my recorder on and it was in my pocket. So you can hear when it's Rosalind and Eric. I remember they were talking to each other, and you can hear the steps walking on the dirt, like, you know, and you hear, and then out of nowhere, this voice comes out and starts yelling in a different language, maybe like German sounding, or probably always said Polish, German, I don't even know. And it was just like, ah, blah, 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 blah. And then you hear Eric and Rosalind la, 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 talking, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. And then the steps, and then this other person like, rah, 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 rah. And I'm just like, what in the world is this? Like, I've never experienced anything like it. But it haunted me for so many years because I was never able to do anything about it because of that show. So it haunted me. It actually affected me for a long time. I felt like I never got closure. You know, it's like if something is powerful enough to leave an imprint on a digital recorder with that force, and nobody was able to do anything, you know, to help or to at least listen, that really affected me for a long, long time.
I was trying to get your attention.
But I mean, something
Screaming.
was. I mean, and the saddest part is that I was never able to share with anybody. I mean, that recorder went back into production, and then who knows, just got deleted or something, or
That's
gone.
wild. That's wild. To have,
And I've spoken with somebody that worked on Waverly, and they said that they actually have, and it was by the tunnel. We were leaving the tunnel in Waverly, and they actually said that they have heard EVPs in a different language, like in German.
Yeah, I think Ernie said that.
Yeah, Ernie. Yeah.
Ernie was the night watchman for a long time there.
Which was crazy to
Yeah.
me. But anyway, that's my story. I mean,
Waverly for me, I was on the boots on the ground with the first ghost hunters team in there, and I remember when the place didn't have windows, and they were trying to, I mean, it was like about to cave in because somebody had like tried to rip the foundation from under it to the previous owner was trying to do something to it. And the place was hurting bad, and I remember going in there and being like, this is that for the show Ghost Hunters, that was the largest location we had ever done. I mean, we did like home cases for the majority of the show, and that was like a turning point for the show. It was like this major, huge, I think it's 20,000 square feet or something. I can't remember, but I mean, just huge. You've seen it. How are we gonna film this? Like, as the camera department, how are we gonna do this? We don't have enough lights. We don't have enough cameramen. Like, the place is huge, and we did it. I mean, we pulled it off, and it ended up being one of the best episodes on Ghost Hunters, I think, that we had ever done. And it was, I remember cruising around there. I mean, after they're done investigating, the camera crew's got to run around there and film by themselves. And I remember that was the first place that I was like, man, I think I had like a PA come with me. I was a little nervous because like, it's just dark, you go down those halls and you get lost in there. It's way, you get way back there.
You disappear into the darkness.
And you just, it's just like, the walls start talking to you, and it's just sound, you hear every little sound when you're by yourself. It's like, whoa, and it throws you on guard. But that place is, and that death tunnel, that is so cool.
I fell there too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You did. You fell.
I mean, thank goodness cameras were down. They didn't get me, but I totally went flat face on the ground. I couldn't even grab onto anything. I just like, I hit something. I don't even know what, because it's just.
Oh, there's like a cement like ledge.
Well, I
in it
hit
right before it
something
turns.
and I went down,
Yeah, I
and my
remember
face
that,
is on the
yeah.
ground. I'm just like, oh my God.
Oh gosh.
No,
It
I
was
felt bad for her.
yeah, I was embarrassed because I was like, oh no, he saw me, I fell.
It's so funny to like laugh about this after, because like we weren't even talking at that point. It was
Well,
just
so
like I felt bad for her. I was like, oh my gosh, this beautiful girl just fell on the ground. It felt so bad. Like,
And I'm thinking,
help
oh
her.
gosh, if I think someone's such an idiot, like I can't even focus on the dark.
But yeah, Waverly, whew, one of my more favorite locations by far. And the, Tina is such a, I love Tina. She's
So
just
great, yeah.
awesome person.
It's the first time I ever heard an EVP of what it sounded like an elderly female with an accent.
Mhm.
And it's like, what? Like, and you get the age, the gender, and an accent.
Yeah.
It was so bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even explain that? It was fascinating.
Wow, I can imagine. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I want to go there. And now, are there any other places that really stand out to you that you have investigated?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, Trans-Allegheny is amazing.
Oh, Trans-Allegheny is awesome.
That's
That like
when I
the
heard my name.
large size places. Yeah, Trans-Allegheny is awesome.
It's
Penhurst is
amazing.
awesome.
I mean, Trans-Allegheny, I heard my name be called 3 times, and the third time was like on my ear. I heard it, nobody else heard it. And there was the crew and the people. And I'm just thinking I'm going crazy. But then you review the evidence, and sure enough, it was on the digital recorder and the video camera. So I was like, how?
Personal, no longer a personal experience.
Yes,
Documented.
I hate it when something happens to you and then you're telling people and they're just looking at you like, oh, okay, that's weird. And you're like, ah.
It's a different story when you get it on camera.
Yes, but it's like, it is.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
powerful.
That's why you got to be always rolling.
Yeah, I learned a lot from this guy for sure. Even when we're driving, we some crazy driver being all like, aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
It's like camera.
Yeah.
And then they go away.
Yeah. People like it on camera. Some people don't. Yeah. Camera's powerful. It sees everything.
Absolutely. Now, I told you guys that I love the EVP part of the process. Now, what would you guys say is your favorite thing to do or process to use equipment wise, or whether it be a specific type of specific type of method that you use to figure things out, or get contact in any kind of way, shape, or form? What is your favorite one to do?
So for me, it's also EVP. I love it. He has no patience.
Right
I
on.
do. I will sit down and put my headphones and relive the whole moment. I don't fast forward. I don't like skip through it. I just sit down and then relive it. And especially right after you did an investigation, because everything is fresh and you remember the sounds, the environment sounds as well. You're like, oh yeah, that was a dog. I remember that dog in the background, or a rooster, whatever. Or I remember, yeah, Kendal was hungry. He didn't eat dinner, so that's his stomach, And I love it. I love analyzing audio evidence. It's my favorite.
And you like, what is your favorite technique?
I'm in love with this mic right now.
Yeah.
That we're using.
Yeah.
We're using some new stuff. I also live old fashioned. I love recording on old tape recorders. I know it sounds crazy, but I still use my old tape recorder. And we have a mic. We just hook it up, and I just love. I don't know. There's this theory that the white noise is what helps capture those EVPs. You say it lives in the white noise. I don't know if that's a right way to explain it.
I wonder if it's a frequency kind of thing, because you could never see on a waveform monitor, an EVP spike, unless it's like something
super
moved
loud,
or it's like profound. But like in that white noise, that level line is like where it lives, and that's why it's very interesting. I wish I knew more about like technology that could like take out the white noise, so you have just.
But I've heard a lot of people have tried to clean the white noise, and sometimes
those EVPs
disappear.
Yeah, it's not a smart thing to do.
So I don't know. I don't know much about it.
But it's interesting. I wonder if it's a frequency thing, and I'm sure your viewers will be able to tell us. But yeah, the the analog, the old school tape recorders, I think is neat, because there is that old theory that, you know, in tape, that something impressions itself into the actual filaments of the magnetic tape. And, you know, it kind of goes with the electromagnetic field, and it kind of has some, you know, credibility to it, possibly, you know, and
Possibly.
I kind of like it. And for
and it's
many
difficult
years,
to review. You know, you have to have a lot of patience
Oh, yeah,
for it,
yeah.
but I
You gotta,
sometimes
like,
it's worth it.
yeah, then you got to digitize it. It's a lot of work, but
Yeah.
I think it's kind of neat. And then some people are using that DDR, what is it, like the old Panasonic tape recorder, or the old Panasonic digital recorders are kind of neat.
Mhm.
And that's another white noise thing where you know, there's a lot of white noise that lives on those tape recorders, and then, you know, you have, so I wonder if it's like a frequency thing, but it's fun too. Like, we just started working with this new mic that that's really interesting, and it's very, it shoots in a 360, and it's very clear, so that's
That's also
interesting too.
interesting.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And
But
like
we,
what I was telling you with the other gentleman that I interviewed, that's what they use is the white noise. And to me, when you do like the radio sweep, there's that added sound of whatever is manipulating the sweep, and it's going up and down, and you hear other types of things coming through. So I agree that white noise, I think for my ear, actually it makes it a little bit easier to figure out where the volume goes up and down, where it's affected. You know what I mean? As opposed to the sweep where it's like zip, 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 zip from like the bandwidth, whatever you're on, whether it be AM or FM, and you're sweeping through. So I agree with the white noise and all that, but I think that it's phenomenal to work on too. And there's so many different things you can do with it as well. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
what is your favorite?
Yeah, your turn.
My favorite.
Yeah, I know you love cameras. For
I mean,
sure.
yeah, it's gonna be straight up camera. Right now, it's the EMCCD camera. It's a photon camera that captures photon events. Scientific camera. I want to work with more scientific cameras. There's like a list of cameras that I'd like to work with. I believe.
Unfortunately, I don't think there's a camera that can really capture
No,
as
there
much
is.
as we want
There
to.
is. There's something that can capture more than the eye sees, and it's super expensive. And it's like in the you know, the test phase of scientific test phase, you know,
Prototyping and what?
it's like 1,000,000 frames a second, and
Right.
within one of those 1,000,000 frames, there's going to be a piece of information that is that we need to see, but we need to see it in IR. We need to see it on below the UV spectrum. We need to be able to see it within, you know, it's got on the photon level. You got to be able to see it beyond the visual sight. And I think
so the camera exists, but it's not available. That's what
It's
I
not
meant.
available, yeah,
We
yeah,
cannot have
yeah.
access to any of that.
but it's
unfortunately.
getting there. I mean, technology is like coming fast, you know, it's getting there. And I think the next few years, people are going to start making
We need more toys.
awesome breakthroughs.
Don't we all?
mean-
though? I love that stuff
people,
too. I
there's
mean,
techie people out there. Like,
things
I like
things
the old
are
school stuff, too.
they're getting so fast. So, you know, things are coming out so fast. It's hard to keep up with whatever's new coming out, of course,
Mhm.
you know, but I agree with I like to meld that science yet metaphysical type of, you know,
Mhm.
aspects together to try and formulate some kind of different hypothesis on what might be happening. So I agree with you on that point. I remember when we were talking, or I was listening to things about the movie, you actually tried to bring scientists in to debunk almost, or not debunk, but maybe
Shed some light.
right, facilitate on certain aspects of what's
Mhm.
happening. And
Yeah.
that to me was phenomenal that you tried to do that. That like made my mind start thinking and my gears start going like, oh wow, maybe if you did that or that. And I love when that happens, when I start thinking like that. So I mean, that was hats off to that part. It was just there's a lot more that's really great with the documentary, but that to me
good.
stood out a little bit, you know, and I was like,
Awesome.
that's so awesome. That's
And
so
we
awesome.
wanted more, but
Yeah.
you know, unfortunately, a lot of people are not open yet.
The science community.
The science community is not really
Oh
open
yeah.
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
talk about paranormal so much.
Which I get it. I mean, you know, scientists, a lot of them are on government contracts, and, you know, it's like there's a whole reputation thing like that goes along with it. And good for the guys that spoke on the doc, because I mean, we hit up a lot of people scientists and geologists, and and we got a lot of no's and a lot of doors slammed in our face. And
but also no,
and-
I mean people, because non-scientists also.
Mhm.
I mean, it didn't matter what their degree was. There's a lot of people that wouldn't talk to us just
Mhm.
because of the topic
Paranormal,
of
yeah.
paranormal.
Mhm.
Mhm.
it's still a taboo. It's still got a little bit of a taboo. But I mean, good on the last 10, 15 years of the paranormal community for breaking down the doors. Because I remember when I first started, 15 years ago, we got some heat. There was some times where people, I mean, especially the guy, the ghost hunter guys, there was people like, they would get yelled at. There were people showing up yelling on set. Like it hasn't been received well for many years, and I think it's being.
Well, you see, growing up, I didn't know that because both of my parents grew up in haunted houses, and they both had experiences, deep, a little traumatic experiences for them. And I saw the psychological aspect of what a haunting does to a person, especially when you're younger and then you grow up. And I think both of my parents confine each other and would talk to each other about it, and that will help. And that's why the whole family gathering thing happened. It was almost like therapy, I think.
And her parents were like, her mom's a doctor and her dad's
he was a genetics professor. So, they're scientists into science. So it was fascinating to see that. But I never knew that it was such a taboo growing up because it was a normal topic in our house.
Well, yeah, like you were saying, 10, 15 years ago, if a scientist would delve into that sort of methodology or hypothesis, they'd actually ostracize him from the community almost. Now it's not so. Now it's frowned upon, but there isn't an ostracization of somebody who tries to go further and beyond, because there's so many things, I guess, coming out that are so what we thought would be out there eventually are actually coming into the fold. But that was another question I had for you guys is I know Vera, you said you had, as a nurse, you had some kind of entity or experience of the paranormal, or to explain that a little bit, but also some of the emotional aspects of that, because some people who are younger, we know when they have these more so with children, but when they have these paranormal experiences, it does affect them emotionally and mentally. While they grow up, they manifest with sometimes anxiety, or sometimes they're not scared of anything. It can go either way on a spectrum. So if you could explain that a little bit, that would be absolutely phenomenal.
So as a nurse, when I was younger, I love the ghost stories, but I was not into like going into spooky houses. I mean, sometimes we would as kids, for fun, but I was not really into it. I mean, you couldn't even get me into a haunted house like at the fair. I'd be screaming and kicking. I was like, no, I don't like gore. I don't like monsters. I don't like spooky things. It's like, go away. Like, but then, as you get older, as a nurse, I actually experienced quite a few things. And I mean, hospitals, hello. One of them that I really scratched my head was I was passing meds, walking on the hallway, and I would always look to my left and see, one of my patients there. But the patient passed away. So a couple of days later, I'm walking on the hallway, passing meds. I look to my left to the room, which was, the light was off and everything. And he was there sitting on his chair, staring at me, and he smiled. And I just kept walking, and then I stopped, frozen. And I was like, because I remember, I was like, you're not alive anymore. So I went back and I looked again, and he was gone. So I don't know, was it my brain, because I was used to seeing him there, that my brain just recreated the whole thing? It looks so real. Or was it really him?
What do you think? What do you think?
I'll never know.
Because it's the experiencer that dictates whether they feel, if it's usually in the experiencer that would be the one to say that that's what it was, because they were in the situation.
I have never been able to say, yes, that's what it was. Because I'm so analytical. My brain just wants to rationalize everything. The thing that got me is that he smiled at me. That's
oh, wow.
the
Like
thing
direct eye
different.
contact? Kind of
Yes.
whoa, man. And if that
And
wasn't anybody there, that's scary as anything.
this was a psychiatric unit department, so he really wasn't, when I saw him, he really wouldn't make that kind of contact. So that's the thing that caught me off guard, because he would not just look at me and smile in a regular situation, but he did. So I was that really confused me. I'll never know. I can't prove that it was real or not. All I can say is it happened, and who
It's a
knows.
wild experience, nonetheless. That's a wild.
The one that really got me into looking into paranormal and digging deep into paranormal, because so many things that happened to me, especially after my 20s. But the one is after my dad passed away. So he always said that after he will be gone, he will make sure that he will try to make contact somehow. And he I mean, I feel like he did try. It was about 2 weeks after his funeral. I was at a new job at a nursing home, and I was just working. It was daylight, nothing spooky, just a normal day. I wasn't even thinking of my dad. I was so focused on working because it was a new job, wanted to make a good impression. So I don't know when I started smelling my dad's cologne. And my dad's cologne is really particular. It wasn't a common cologne. And it wouldn't stop. I ignored it, and again, boom. It's almost like he would come to me like this, like boom. And he was like, okay, where is this coming from? So I started looking at rooms, looking at patients. Nobody had cologne. I mean, come on, it's a nursing home. So anyway, I went and go and help one of my techs, and she had a patient, and this elderly, it was a catatonic patient, pretty much at the end stage of her life, no talking, not really interacting. And I was helping with her. The tech walks away to get towels, and I stay with the patient. The patient looks up, and she says, "Your father is very handsome." And then she looks to my left, and she kind of smiles, and then she goes back into her state and is gone. And I was just like, oh my God, like, I'm like, Daddy? Are you here? I was like, I don't even know what to think. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, like, is this real? Like,
That's incredible.
Really? And that's what got me. I mean, the story keeps going, but
Wow.
to make the long story short, that was it for me. That I just started buying books. I started doing research. I started going online to see whether people had experienced this, especially with relatives and loved ones, et cetera, et cetera. I get shaky every time I think about it, because I mean, what are the chances of some random? Like, I don't never
it's
know.
so profound, and like the
That-
fact that she was in a catatonic state is, I mean, you never saw her talk to
Even
anybody.
if it was normal,
Yeah.
even if she was okay, why is she telling me my father is handsome?
Yeah, that's
when
not
I'm
something
like,
you ever say to somebody.
no. And
That-
when I'm smelling my dad's cologne all morning, like, it just makes no sense.
That's one of the things that I totally love about the paranormal, is that there's moments, like you said, that are so profound that sometimes it's scary, but other times it gives people closure, or that, that essence of finding a relative or a loved one is there with them. And then that doesn't make it better by any means, but it helps, and that's like when I always talk to Melinda about these things, is she's a medium, so she can speak to them as well and get messages back. And it's so profound that you can help people physically and emotionally by doing some type of investigations or those contexts. I'm sure you felt much better knowing that he was happier on the other side, or safe, or he was there with you in that moment. I mean, I'm sure that there was some emotion that got attached with that experience.
No, with the emotional, it messed me up.
Did it? Well, it can go both ways,
I
Sometimes
don't
it
have
does have
closure.
that effect.
I was like, Daddy, really? Like, now you're gonna get me like research into this, because I wanted more.
Which then she met me.
It wasn't enough.
Well,
and then
that-
I went to
That's the
GHI.
thing.
But that's why I went to GHI, because I'm like, oh, Cosmos Academy, they're gonna teach me, about this stuff, and I'm gonna find out if for sure, it was my dad. What if my dad was really trying to tell me something and I'm not prepared? I'm not trying. I knew nothing. I didn't know how to handle a situation. So me being me, I wanted to train myself, and then this is where I am.
He set you on the path for your successful life and the rest of it. So it was a profound effect. But sometimes it's not always clear, but it definitely was,
I never
I
thought
believe
of it
that.
that way.
I believe it.
They-
You can
Yes.
see that
I do.
he put it
He
together.
set us up. He did.
Yes, very much so, Vera. I feel that he was leading
Aw.
you to Kendall, and he knew that Kendall would take care of you no matter what.
I'm
And
gonna
that's
cry. I
that
can't.
was the very, yes, very much so. Now, I'm going to take a minute here before we go to the next subject, but I made personally something for you and Kendall. You can
Oh,
wear them whenever you go on to investigations, because I have done this in the Native American way. They have been blessed by me and by a medicine man, but I made them. And let me, okay, Vera, this one's yours.
Oh,
that's
that's
beautiful,
awesome.
Melinda.
That's so awesome.
You made that?
So, yes. And
Oh,
this here, the circle, and let me hold up here, Kindle's. There's Kendall.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Thank
that's
you.
so you.
That's
But there's
amazing.
this was the surprise that I was telling you guys
Thank
about.
you.
Thank you.
But the
Aw.
circle, you know how it looks like a flower? In Native American, this means that wherever you are, you will be protected against anything that is of the dark.
Thank you.
So these have, it's took me 3 months to make them, but
Oh my
so
gosh.
yes.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
you
I
So-
could
are
have that
awesome.
about a week ago. I know I talked to you about that. Oh, I had a really crazy experience.
Right. But
Thank you.
oh, you're very welcome. And you guys will need to give me your address, send it to me by
Yeah.
phone or whatever, so I can mail them to you. But these are very, 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 very powerful because of the fact I took them down to the reservation, and on the reservation, there's a place that is very sacred, and it's got sacred water, and so holy water. And so they were infused with holy water, and so they're going to protect you against anything. I mean, the very darkest of dark. So, but I couldn't wait to the end to show it to you. I was like, I can't take it.
Thank you so much, Linda. That's amazing.
They're beautiful. Thank you so
Love
much.
Well, you guys, you guys, you two are just very, very special to me. I don't know why, other than when the first time I met you guys, I was very connected, very, very connected. And you were so easy to talk to. And so I was like, something was telling me I needed to make these for you two. And
Wow.
so the colors and everything was chosen. And I do feel it was by spirit and for each one of you. So the colors came from the spirit world telling me, okay, it's this color, and for Vera, this color for Kendall, and so forth. But like I said, I couldn't wait to the end. I was like, I got to do this now.
I love it.
I
I
can't
can't
wait
wait.
to
Yeah,
have
thank
it. Oh
you.
gosh, thank
Oh my
you.
gosh.
Well, you're
Thank
very welcome, guys. So now we'll switch to boots here. How did Robot Ninja Media began? How did you guys start that? What was your inspiration to start it?
Yeah. So let's see, how long ago? Like 3 years ago. We
18?
yeah, 2000. Man, it's been a
17?
while. Yeah, 17 or 18.
3 years ago, yes.
3 years ago.
Sorry.
It's like
3 years
lot
ago.
has happened in 3
Yeah.
years, as you guys have experienced too. It's so I wanted to be more creative. I wanted to do branded content.
We started with branded content.
Do commercials
Mhm.
and documentaries. I just wanted to go full force into
telling stories.
documentary storytelling. I have a background in documentary TV and reality TV, and following people and getting their story, and I just love it. Like, for me, that is my passion. I love telling people stories. I love seeing people's lives. I love like hanging out with them and meeting new people and like riding along with them, and just seeing what else is out there in the world, and telling that story the best I can in a creative light. And we wanted to create a company that like just mirrored that passion, and would take us to the next level of storytelling on our own. And we started the company, and we started a few projects. We got some projects under our belt, and then Steve Gonzalez from Ghost Hunters, who I worked with for many, many years, gave me a call, and he had told me about this house in Mississippi, and started telling me the story about the house, and he had been out there twice, and he had a personal experience out there, which Steve doesn't have many, and I thought that was like whoa, okay, this one's, this
must be good.
This must be good, and especially if Steve's calling and wanting to do a documentary and talking about it, and it was just a no-brainer for Vera and I to team up with Steve and get going right away on it. I mean, I think we started production like a few weeks later. We started pre-production, and then we went out there probably like 3 or 4 months after our phone call. So we started the documentary, The House in Between, right away. And that's really how Robot Ninja got its legs. And yeah, we've been just working away ever since. And
it was a wild ride.
It's been a lot of,
very difficult, like a lot of ups and downs. And at times we thought it wasn't gonna come out.
It's not easy to put out a documentary on your own. It really isn't. And and a lot of you filmmakers out there and inspiring filmmakers, don't give up. Don't give up on any of your dreams, because you will eventually do them. They might not be in the manner that you want, but it will happen for you. And that's what happened for us with this film. I mean, it's our first.
And you and I built a house before.
Mm-hmm.
It was our first big project.
Yeah.
We drew the house on a napkin,
Mm-hmm.
and you went from a napkin to reality, and that was another story on its own.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And it's funny how close like making a film is to building a house. It's kind of interesting. You have like all these working parts and people and all this stuff. So like for us, the documentary kind of like
the stages
came second nature for us to work through it, and it was a lot like building something or making something, and being creative. And that was the best part. And man, we were blessed with the people, the amount of talent that worked on the film. I mean, it was like Corey Frost and Mike Peebles, Eric Johnston, man, the list goes on and on. Paul Natty, and like it was an amazing. It just kind of made it like everything fell into place where it helped us make the film, and it just wanted to be out there.
It takes a team of people for sure.
Takes the team.
I mean, here it's only the two of us, but in reality, it takes a huge team of people.
Yeah, and we were lucky to work with some of the best in the business, in the paranormal, the paranormal aspect. I mean, the people that we had out filming, had been on Ghost Hunters for many, many years and knew, it's hard to get somebody that doesn't know the paranormal and then go and film, because, for us, you got to know that you got to tag yourself in EVPs. Somebody's having a session and your belly rumbles. You gotta tag that. There's like a ton of stuff you gotta do to be able to kind of hang out with the investigators and not be a nuisance or a loud person, or there's so many things, and
from the production side.
From the production, and that's just having the amount of talent that we had in the field that knew
you already have experience.
It was
and
just
know what
like
to do. It was just second nature.
It was second nature, yeah. Right. And it was a small place. I mean, the Mississippi house is, it's, I don't know, 1,800 square foot little home, and it's a small. You got to have a small footprint. You can't be loud. You gotta be really rolling all the time. You got to be able to roll all the time, because you never know when something's going to happen. And we spent a lot of time there, and if you're an investigator, that like stuff just doesn't go crazy for the first few hours that you're there. You got to be patient. It's like fishing, and you got to just be ready for it, and really be thinking of that next thing that could possibly happen.
And be ready for it.
I think from my experience in filmmaking with the paranormal, that's really gotten me an advantage to what could happen. I'm always thinking, like an investigator, I'm always thinking, well, I should, I don't know what it is. It's a gut feeling. I should put a camera here. I don't know why I feel that way, but I should. And then, it's like, sure enough, sometimes it pays off. Sometimes it doesn't. Like, I remember on Ghost Hunters this year, it was like the guys were just going to go in and they were just going to change out a card on a camera. And I was like, I never break protocol. I'm following them in. I'm going to just, we were down. I was like having snacks and stuff. And like, I'm like, nope, never break protocol. And I went in, and it was one of the most profound paranormal experiences that I've ever been part of. And it was this light anomalies in the EMCCD camera in Arizona, in Clifton, Arizona. And it was just amazing. And we're very lucky that we captured that true event, because, it's like, if it's not on camera, it never really happens. So
now, guys, you've got a merch store. So,
yeah.
I've been trying to promote that for you guys, but
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's on my page, but they have got some awesome stuff on there, guys. So really, I mean, I'm going to order some stuff. So it's just amazing. I love it, what's on there. So check that out, guys.
It's also on my page too, and my group page of Full Spectrum Universe. Shared there as well.
It was a side project we did. Before we started getting busy again, we wanted to design some t-shirts, and we love being creative. We can't help it. We just
merch is fun. Merch is a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had so much fun designing the stuff, and for us, we're trying to fund our next project and stuff. So anything helps, and that's kind of that's like and we've always kind of wanted to do like a clothing company and stuff. So like since I was a snowboarder, I always wanted to start like a clothing company.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
One of the things that when I was watching the documentary is I love where you put trigger items, like the ball at the baseball at the top of the stairs. I think that's sort of what you like when you go into your protocol on how you do something. It's kind of like the microcosm to the whole thing. You put that item there, and you keep something on it. And you don't know when it's going to happen. It could take hours. It could take minutes. But when it moves, you've got it, and you've got that. And I think that, that to me, when I was watching it, also had a profound effect, because I never actually thought about that. Putting something down that at the top of a stairs that can stay there. And then when it happens, do down the stairs, you become mentally aware of where it is and what's going on. And you've had the camera on it the whole time. I think that's phenomenal. I never actually thought to do that, to be quite honest with you. So
yeah, that's
Brad,
that's kudos to Brad Cooney and John Bullard. I mean, they've been investigating that house for 10 years, and they realized early on that things were disappearing and things were moving, and physical manipulation of things. So they had the know-all to put trigger objects up, and that baseball, that is like, man, it's very,
and they
very
have a ton of things that move and fall, and I mean they have a lot of other trigger objects.
Yeah,
but it just didn't make the film. But kudos for him.
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's.
I think they did a good job. I mean, and all in all, it's a ball. But if anybody knows baseballs, they're quite heavy.
I mean, we tried. I mean, it's kind of funny because we shocked Brad and John on camera. Steve and I like just jumped into debunk mode. Steve and I, like, when we first got there, we went through the house and like made sure they weren't pulling a fraud on us, and went through. And Steve is like the master. I mean, he's gonna sniff it out. Like, there's no tricking Steve. And we went through and we just started rolling, and we like brought a magnet. We're like, okay, if it's magnetic, we're gonna find out here. If it's air, we're gonna find out here. If it's something under the stairs, we're gonna find out here. And we're gonna play it on camera. I mean, that could be the pivotal moment in the documentary where the investigators might not be so honest, and then that's a whole nother story. And we just wanted to go in and tell a real story of a real haunted house, and what that movie is. The House in Between is 100% what we had gone along the way. And, as you know in the movie, if you've seen it, it's shocking to see what happens.
Especially at the end.
They got me. They got me. So
another example, when you're not even expecting it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, stuff
and
happens.
here's the thing that we're kind of realizing is, like, I feel like they know the ghosts or whatever multidimensional beings, whatever we're going to call them, like, let's just call them energy, whatever they know that you take a camera away. or they know that you're packing up and have their back to them, or they like, it's always,
there's a pattern.
it's always
our
when
years
you're
of
not ready,
experience.
or, yeah,
They're
it's not
watching
when
you.
you're like got the camera pointed right at the door or the thing that you're asking to move. It's like later on, it's like a delay or something. I don't know. It's very interesting, but you know, just the experiences that we've been through, it's like it's starting to add up to like they're aware of,
if it's an intelligent or some
things,
sort of intelligent being.
not all of them. Not, I mean, some are, you know, some are just like, you know, residual or doing its thing. But I don't know. Like, I feel like, you know.
But I would like to encourage people to record, and record.
They're watching you.
Go with
Keep
your gut. Go
rolling.
with your gut, because your gut knows. Like, you're gonna.
And also, don't don't get tired of it, because eventually you might catch something.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just gonna happen on command.
Yeah.
It's not just gonna happen for 2 hours of investigation. You know, it takes time. This stuff takes time.
And it's not easy. Like, you guys are up, you're investigating till, you know, the AM, till the sun comes up, and it's that usually like that last hour that you gotta like dig your heels in, and you don't want to, you know, you kind of, I don't know, you might just kind of not want to keep filming or whatever. But that's, you know, when you put your guard down, that's when it happens, and you power it out.
That's when the coffee and the Red Bull kicks in.
That's it, exactly. Yeah.
And not only that, sometimes, you know, I've, with other aspects of my life, sometimes when I have like just like the littlest thing could have a profound effect on other people. So if you are recording and putting it out, always maintain that kind of that thought process that even the littlest little bit of either contact or something happens, you still could have a profound effect on somebody else down the road somewhere. You know, just that little moment that's caught.
Yeah.
But it's incredible too, you know, and what you guys do is truly awesome, and I admire it 100%. It's truly awesome.
Thank you. We love it. We really do. We love everything about the paranormal, and just, it's so exciting. My adrenaline gets pumped. I get excited.
My brain gets going.
When the shit goes down, it is like on, you know, it's like, here we are, everything you've been waiting for, and you're like, all right, let's get this.
Like, I need to find out.
Yeah.
I just can't ignore it. Like, a lot of people experience things and they're like, oh, that's weird. All right. And then move on. Me, I'm like, now I'm going to find out what was this all about?
I'm just like that too. I got to figure it out. Got to figure it out. I don't know how, what, I have to.
So Kendal and Vera, are they anything that you would suggest or give any kind of advice to, like new paranormal teams starting, even if it's just a single person, or, you know, are there any advice you would give them about entering into the paranormal field?
Yeah.
A lot of advice. I can give you a huge list. There's a lot of concerns. Number one, be careful. Don't mess with dark stuff just because it's fun, or because it might get you some likes, you know, or some views, you know. I just be careful. There's dark stuff in this field, and we don't like to get involved with that. I mean, we don't even know how it got meshed with the paranormal investigating. Paranormal investigating is just, you know, trying to find answers.
Yeah, like, you're going and trying to document activity. You're going to try to you know,
possibly
find out what,
disprove an event, to give a peace of mind to someone who's having a difficult time. I mean, we've known loved ones who have encountered strange things, and you can see how it affects them emotionally, and that's not cool. That's not cool. I think also, don't forget to empower others, not to be afraid of the unknown.
Have fun,
have faith as well. Have faith. I think that's important for me, having that faith background that keeps me grounded and strong when you face things that you don't know what they are. They're unknown and they're scary. There was another one that I wanted to say.
I think a big important one is like,
document please don't just go out there. I mean, it's okay if you do, it's no big deal. If you want to go and experience, go and experience. It's part of it. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to really do this seriously and call yourself a paranormal investigator, please document, because you never know what you're gonna come up with.
What do you
Like,
mean by document?
everything. Like, keep a log. When you experience something, write the simple things like the date, the time, what was the temperature like, you know, what was the surroundings like, the environment. Just make notes as much as you can, because eventually, if you do that for a whole year, 2 years, 3 years, then you can see patterns, and then you can predict events possibly. So I think it's important. That's why the Mississippi House was so fascinating for us, because he had been investigated for 10 years, and these people had documented evidence for 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
A lot of it didn't make what we call it the Steve Cossal's filter. A lot of the stuff they had, they wanted to show on the film did not make it, because it was just too
When in doubt, throw it out.
questionable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which is a good rule.
It's good.
You have to be credible.
You can't
and-
just think
yeah.
everything is a ghost
Yeah.
either. That's another advice. I told you I had a long list. You can't think everything is a ghost, please. You know, use your critical
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
You know, common sense. Be smart out there. I don't know.
Mine's easy. Have fun. Like,
You always say,
go have fun. Like, I can't tell you how like serious it can get, because you're like, you got all this stuff, and you know, it's like you got this little time and this location, and it gets stressful, and I'm guilty of it. Like, take a breath, have fun, enjoy yourself with your friends, and don't
make fun of whatever is there.
Right,
I mean,
right.
don't be disrespectful.
Right.
But
enjoy
when you
what you're
mean
doing.
have fun,
Yeah, enjoy
do
yourself.
what you do with love.
Yeah. And, you know, don't get caught up on, if you don't have thermal cameras and, you know, the latest technology, you can still go ghost hunting. You can still go paranormal investigate. You can still get out there. Even if you're an urban explorer, like, get out there. Like,
But be careful.
Be careful. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. Like, going and exploring the unknown, going through the darkness, crawling through tunnels, like finding hidden doors and finding like secret passageways, and like,
it's human nature.
It's awesome,
we
you know,
we have questions.
Yeah.
You know, we, especially when you experience things like us, we have experienced things that we were not able to explain, and then here we are.
Yeah.
You know, searching for
Addicted to it.
answers. No, I didn't. We just, like, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Searching for the unknown. I think it's just part of human nature.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely not. There's definitely not anything wrong with that. Well, another aspect of the movie that I personally love is that you make it for the paranormal investigators who are very gung-ho about it, but also the skeptics too. So
Yeah.
what was the thought process behind, or how did you model what you were doing to make both sides come together in such a way that it was prolific in the way you guys did it? It was extremely well done. So if you could just give us a little bit of insight on how you thought to do that, it would be awesome to find out.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
that comment. That means the world to me.
Yeah.
I'm sure for
Yeah.
you too.
Oh my gosh.
Because that was very challenging.
Yeah.
But I'll mention real quick. For me, I have a lot of skeptics in my family. I'm the weirdo. You know.
Me too.
So you know,
Yep.
you know the feeling. I mean, because they haven't possibly experienced anything, or they're just not interested at all into this, and that's okay. But for me, it was important to create an artwork, a piece of work that my family will be able to watch and enjoy. You know, I wanted to make it for the skeptics as well. And Kendal thought of a great idea. He thought, why don't we hire a skeptic editor? And I'll let you keep talking about that.
So, you know, documentary storytelling, it's telling both sides. Like, you can't be one-sided and do a documentary. And a lot of documentaries nowadays are one-sided, and they're more like motivational to, you know, to get people's points across. And that's not what we're trying to do here. We just want to tell a real story about real people, and it involves the paranormal. And that was our goal. That was our focus. And, you know, it's difficult when your mindset, you've had these experiences, you've had, you know, things that kind of make you sway to one side more. So you try to involve people that don't believe, you know, and I think that's very important because, you know, it's a mindset, and you need to have a really good conversation about how do we explain this? How do we tell, you know, people this story equally on both sides? And we worked very, very hard on that. Not, you know, we didn't want to sway to one side, and we wanted to tell the skeptic side. And I think it's super important when you do your paranormal research as well, like having that skeptical mindset is super important. And you know, like Vera was saying earlier, you just can't think everything's a ghost, you know. And I think having that, you know, is very, there's something to be said about that, and in honesty. And you know, it's and you know, like getting a good debunk, that's like the best thing you could ever do. It's like, you know, you think it's paranormal, and then somebody else has the mindset to challenge that, and then you realize,
even though it can be disappointing at times, especially if you're disproving somebody's experience,
right? But if it's a valid thing, then it's very good because you learn from that. And that being said, you know, in the documentary, we learned some stuff that actually put validity to some of the theories from a scientist, to what paranormal theory has been through many years. So, I mean, we learned ourselves in the documentary as well, just kind of taking it as a linear, we told a linear story. I mean, it was like start to finish, like, let's just go for the ride and hang on by the you know, the bootstraps, and just try to tell that story.
And when we thought we were done, we weren't done, because then that event that, you know, at the end happened. So we have to like squeeze it in somehow. And it worked out.
It really did. Yeah. It just all.
Well, absolutely. I enjoy that too, is that it's a robust story of both sides. I think anytime you're talking about any subject, it's always a beautiful thing to explore both sides of it to get a real understanding of what's going on. Doesn't matter if it's history or a scientific theory or paranormal, UFO research. And I commend you on that. It was so well done that it blew my mind, because I saw both sides of it, and I caught myself questioning, like, well, wait a minute. Okay. And that's, I think, like kind of what you meant for people to do, is to see both sides like that. I think it was awesome. It was awesome. So I just
we
want to thank you.
also, yeah, and you're sparking a thought here. We also really wanted to present everything that we learned, and you guys learn along the way. And we left it kind of up to the audience to kind of make the decision, which, you know, that is good in the paranormal. You give, it's almost like a criminal like trial, you know, you give all the evidence and you can come out with your decision, whether it's, you know, it's haunted or it's not, it's your decision. And you know, that was another approach that I really feel like was good in this case for this house.
Definitely.
Right.
Making your own verdict. I'm sorry, Melinda. Go ahead. I was interrupting. I got into it too much. Go ahead, Melinda. I'm sorry.
That's okay, Rob. So basically, I like the part where you guys also talk to the neighbors, and you got more input, and that was really, really fascinating to me, because it's not you're just focused on there. Because if there's something going on there, well, I was thinking the same thing before you's done it. As I wonder if they're going to talk to the neighbors, because the neighbors could know of some things also.
That's amazing, because that was really important to me, because I've always wondered about haunted houses. Movies and in general, reports and stories have always been focused on the location itself, and they never talk about what's around that place or the neighbors. And in this particular case, Miss Erin was actually a very important piece of the puzzle.
It ended up being very important. Yeah.
And because indeed she had experiences with Miss Alice on the house.
For many years.
For many years.
Since
and she was a little girl. So that validates the claims. I mean, it's just not just one person, it's also the neighbor.
I mean, we interviewed so many people that have been through this house, experienced the house. Some people made the documentary, some didn't. And And it's just fascinating how many experiences people have had in this one house through the years, many years.
Yeah, and if there's ever a part two, Erin and her husband will be very much part of that too, because they have many more stories to tell. We just couldn't fit them all.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. Are they going to be a part two?
We don't know yet.
It's
we want to.
Yeah.
We want
And if
to.
Alice,
Yes.
if
Alice is up for it.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be done,
There's
and
more.
there's a lot more there, and I think that it.
There's a lot of unanswered questions still.
Yeah, because when I was watching it, and I have told you this before, there was the ball that there was a little boy spirit there. He looked between 8 and 10 years old, and he's blonde headed, and he got very attached to Kendal because that's why he done the ball, was because Kendal was standing there.
That's I think we talked about that one other time, and that is very talk about it again because that's very interesting. I've had Jill Morris, who was the psychic on the documentary. She had told me a long time ago I had this other experience on Ghost Hunters, the show, where a cart moved and hit me, and I couldn't get it out of my mind. She had told me that it was a little boy that was like hiding behind me, and something else was trying to push the cart at the little boy. So that's like interesting that you say a little boy. So I wonder.
A blonde little boy.
Yeah, a blonde little boy. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. That's the second time I've heard a blonde little boy like kind of coming near me or like around me, which is very, very interesting. I don't know if that's. I don't know. Would you pick up anything else there?
Well, basically, I do feel. How do I say this? The little boy, he comes and he goes. It's like if he's wanting to have amusement or if he's scared, he comes to you. And that could even be at your house.
Wow.
And I do feel that he has been there. But you're like a safe thing for him. In a way, you remind him of his father.
Oh.
So that's why he is connected to you. Because he feels safe around you, and he has not crossed over. He is earthbound. So that's what makes it very heartbreaking, is because he's earthbound.
Okay.
That gets to me. Oh, I can't comprehend or accept why
little children get
be
stuck.
Earthbound.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
It's tough.
I mean, how do you know it's a little kid and not some demon or other spirit pretending to be a little kid?
Oh boy.
Well, there's many ways to know that, but he died tragically and suddenly. So when that happens, they can become earthbound because they're not for sure about the light. They're wanting to find out why did they die so quickly, so suddenly. It's like shock. They're in shock. So that is one of the reasons they don't cross over. And then the light's only there through the time of their funeral. Once that funeral has passed, then the light goes away. And until he can find someone that can bring the light and help him to cross through it. And that's what I do a lot. I help earthbound spirits to cross through the light. So, and that's one of the things, until he can find someone that can help him, then he's going to remain earthbound.
Aww.
And it's very sad.
Yeah,
I don't like
it.
Yeah.
You would think that maybe like a spirit guide at the time of that funeral or some kind of other entity would usher him through that light. But sometimes it just doesn't happen like that. I don't know why, and that kind of leads me to my next question for you guys. And this is sort of a theoretical question, shall we say. We know that there are entities out there. What are the reasons that you feel or you think that they are either drawn back to these places, or if they stay here, why are they here and what is their mission? Now we know that there's no exact answer, so it's all about how you feel about it.
You got another couple hours?
Yeah. Sure we do. Go ahead.
Man, oh man.
I'm gonna have a break.
It's
lemonade.
Okay.
With salt on the rim, yeah. Yeah.
You can tell.
I'm not ready to call them ghosts. I'm not ready to call them entities. I like the idea, but I also like the idea that it could be multidimensional. I like the idea that it could be some kind of, time slip or some kind. I think we don't have the technology to be able to completely say that these are ghosts. I think we have a lot of great theories and a lot of great hypotheses. I think we have a lot of great research. I think everything leads to that, but there's a lot going on. There's a lot in multiple layers of things. I mean, you have people that have seen creatures, you have people that have seen UFOs, you have people that have seen ghosts. I mean, if I counted the countless number of stories that I've heard of ghost stories over the years, you take one of those or 1% or whatever you want to call, and you say that's real, like there's something going on. Now that goes with UFO stuff too. I mean, the UFO stuff is, do these things live on the same kind of energy lines that allow them to manifest? Do they, there's so many questions that I have that I'm not ready to just put it in a box of just one thing. I mean, I really think there's more than we all know that's going on with multi dimensions and entities.
That's a word it's so embedded in their vocabulary lately. Multi-dimensional. I don't know why we just feel so comfortable with that word.
Yeah.
But for me, growing up, I always knew there was more. I don't know how, if it was a sixth sense, insight, call it whatever, but I just always knew there was more. And then also my faith in God. Because of that, I believe in this in the spiritual world. I do. I just not ready or prepare or trained enough to call it what it is, because I don't know. I can't tell you, oh yeah, that's a ghost. I get uncomfortable. I'm not gifted like Melinda or other people out there to say, oh yeah, that's the ghost of your father, or yeah, that is, this. I can't. So I don't know. All I know is that there's something happening. It's something that I experienced, something he experienced, something the people that we've talked to experience, and it's real. We just don't know what it is.
I agree. I actually agree with both sides of that. There's so much that we don't know, that it could be an imprint from a parallel universe, and we're just seeing sort of the exchange of energies. And I also believe in God, and like you, I don't have that ability to talk with the spirits like Melinda does. But that's kind of what makes us a good team. Is I use the EVP and she uses her senses, so we get both sides of the conversation in that aspect. But no, I agree with you guys. It's a difficult question, and I only ask that because it's fun to explore, and I always like to hear everybody's different. Every guest that comes on the paranormal, I ask them that same question because I like to get everybody's take on it, because there are no answers.
Why did they say? I'm
Yeah.
curious now.
Yeah.
We'd have to go back. There's a lot of different answers for that. Mostly along the same lines, though. It's, we don't really know, and I know we don't know, but it could be that there's a veil that they're piercing through, and they come down from whether it be heaven, home, the other side. They come back, they touch in for a little bit, and then they go back. Some of them remain here too long, and they get a little crazy. And there's a lot of different aspects. And I've done a lot of. I classify myself a historian and a researcher by trade.
Yeah.
So like these things intrigue me, to have the human condition and the point of view and things like that. But there's a lot of different explanations. All of them make sense, but at the same time, there's always like the next one that's going to come out. So it's hard to decipher it all.
I mean, we know that they're intelligent. Like some of the experiences, like I can say that I feel they're intelligent. We know that there's imprints of stuff happening when you do the EVP. We know that we hear voices. We know that we hear noises and things from the past or from the future or from, somewhere. We know that we're getting this stuff. I mean, we can start there and kind of move forward with that. And yeah, I mean, it's just, those are enough for me to keep kind of looking at this whole thing and asking questions. I remember when I started on Ghost Hunters, thought I was going to get all the answers, just like Vera. And getting into the paranormal, that was my moment of getting into the paranormal. And it's just opened Pandora's box of questions. It's you know, don't expect to get the answers. Like we both have to remind ourselves of this.
We argue about it.
Like
You always tell me, don't expect to find answers. I'm like, well, that's what I'm here for. I want answers.
well, you can't, when you have expectations, that's
I
not a
don't
good thing.
expect it, but
Yeah.
if I can find an answer, how
Well,
cool is that?
That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, how
We're
often
just
does that
forever
happen?
learning. We'll say we're forever learning.
Forever
more.
learning. I like that.
That's a good
Forever
one.
learning. And that's the thing, is you got to be open-minded, which we all are. And, you know, you got to be willing to try techniques or ideas, you know, and nobody has a
But
dumb
nothing
idea.
too crazy. I mean, well, at least I'm not gonna go there.
Yeah, but
You're,
I mean,
you're kind of wild sometimes.
yeah, but you know, there's no bad
You see,
idea.
I'm sensitive. I sometimes I'm feeling things and all my red flags go off and it's like, dun, dun, dun. I'm like, this is not safe, Kendal. And Kendal's just like, la, 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 la. He just is completely unaware. Don't you feel that?
I'm not scared.
No. Don't you smell that? No. Dude, this is happening. Really? And I was like, oh my God. I can't.
I'm kind of like that too. It's like, oh, what? No, not yet. Let's keep going. Keep a little further. You see what happens next. I like that. I like that.
Bring
I like
more.
that.
Come on. Can you do that again? I didn't get
Please.
Now, I do have a question. What is your guys' opinion on the spirit boxes? Because I see a lot of people using those, and
Yeah.
just what is your thoughts on those?
We just started researching a little bit more on them. I know there's some people that are making them and manipulating them. They've gotten some bad flack, but also like I've worked with the Ovulus 5B on some of the shows. I've filmed people working with them. I haven't actually done a session with it, but I like the Ovulus. At first I was like, I don't know about this, you know. I was very skeptical because
Me too.
I felt like you could manipulate, you could program it, pre-program it. I'm like, how the heck does it get this direct of a response? It's like completely programmed. I mean, we were on set one time for Ghost Brothers, and like one of our producers came on set for the night, and her name came up, and it's a different name, and the Ovulus said it, and like I'm like, I'll tell you a secret. Like I took the box back to my room. I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out and see if they programmed it. And I couldn't. There was no way you could program the thing. Like there was no like any kind of download or whatever. I was like, that thing really did say her name. So it's like very interesting that it like goes on command. It says like intelligent responses to some particular questions. So I don't know enough about it to be able to
for sure say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely entertaining.
It's interesting. It's
Very
fascinating. I think it's
fascinating.
Yeah,
but I have experienced a couple times when it's just like random nonsense, and then all of a sudden it starts responding answers that apply completely 100% to that question, and at the same time as the air feels like thicker and heavier, and it's just weird. I don't know.
I started trying to research a little bit into how they work, and I think it's a random number generator. And we started reading about random number generation, like generators, and in science, like there was some studies on like random generators where like these plants were put in a room, and then like one plant would get like all the light and the other plant didn't, and then the number generator was giving that one plant the light, and the number generator kept skipping the one plant, and the one plant made the light go on the plant. It like manipulated the number generator. That's what they said.
That's fascinating.
And so I'm like, okay, well that's interesting.
Because that plant needed light.
It needed light. It needed something.
Somehow it sounds so out there.
It sounds crazy.
But
and it might have been one of those like internet studies of some sort, but but if something's manipulating number generation and it's creating, because a number is supposed to be tagged to a word, right? I think that's how it works. Then it's actually manipulating the generation, the number generator. So I don't know. I mean, you have to put it through science to really really get through it and to take one apart and figure, see if it's
or like
programmable and stuff, but-
I mean, I've also heard a lot of people that feed off of the answers. Is some random answer, but then they're able to create this narrative,
right,
this answer, and then they go on
Yeah.
this like story.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen both sides where people make up a story based on some random answer.
Yeah.
They create a story in their head, and I'm literally watching them like, I'm like, okay, this
hamburger.
is like,
Hamburger.
oh yeah,
I
I had a hamburger last week. You know,
One of the reasons why you got to watch your imagination when times like that. You
Yes.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just
Yeah.
said the number generator. I wrote it down with plants and light so I can look it up myself because I
Yeah.
like that.
Yes.
Check it
Now
out.
that you've said it, it intrigued it in me. And that
It's
kind of
like-
reminds me of this interview I did with Shannon Sylvia from Ghost Hunters International.
Oh yeah.
She did this thing because a Ouija board is the same way. People push it. We don't really know what it is. She actually
Yeah.
created something that felt the pressure that was on the Ouija piece itself. So if anybody was pushing it, it would actually detect it, beep, and stop the whole session. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Oh wow.
Coolest thing I've
That's
ever
really
seen.
cool. Yeah.
But that
Nice.
reminds me of that, like
Yeah.
with the
Yeah, that is-
programming stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like, having open source technology now with like programming and stuff, it's kind of interesting that people are making these devices that are circled around like EMF spikes and pressure spikes, and because like the theory of that some kind of entity can manipulate the electromagnetic field, and you get that spike and that's attached to some kind of like ABC or some they've created dolls that like what is that teddy talking teddy bear, like
Mhm.
there's so much stuff out
Oh,
there
yeah.
now that is attached to the EMF spikes and the pressure spikes, and it's kind of neat to see the technology evolving. I think that's where it needs to go, but I definitely see it needing to go to the scientific level of things where like it just needs to like science needs to get involved, technology needs to get involved, and everybody
Because,
needs to
think about it. If so-called spirits are able to physically move a ball, push a ball down the stairs, that's a physical action. Michael Denton says it perfectly in the documentary. Why are we not measuring that?
right. Yeah.
Or using some sort of device
We need to
try to anticipate or just capture where is that energy coming from? Like, what is that energy that actually pushed that ball?
Yeah.
Because it could be explainable.
It could
be completely
Yeah.
explainable. But why are we not creating a device?
Right.
I agree with that. It could. There's a lot of variables that it could be electromagnetic. It could be, there's so many different types of energies you'd have to
Yeah.
explore. But you could find something that would generate, a field that would measure any kind of energetic fluctuation within it.
Right.
There's definitely ways to do that. Just got to find the right scientist with the right equipment and combine it.
Mhm.
They get us
Yeah.
the numbers, sees the patterns, says, okay, that is no normal.
Yeah.
I love these conversations. We're thinking outside the box. We're gonna.
We have to.
Right?
That's what's fun, man.
We're gonna
I
figure
love the
this out.
technology aspect. I really do. I love it. I love all the, especially with UFO stuff. I love.
You love UFO
I
stuff.
love.
Oh,
like,
me
the
too.
technology.
Me
No,
too.
no.
Like
I had a really weird, I won't talk about it, don't ask me, but it was a really, really weird experience regarding a UFO. And it makes me nervous.
Well, Vera,
Alice too.
Hold
Alice,
on.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I had an experience with one too here in Arizona, up in
Mm.
Strawberry.
Mm.
That's
can't
how
wait
I
to
got
get
into
that.
this field to begin with. I went from UFOs to paranormal. That's how I got like the.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So why did it feel more safe to be?
I knew a lot of when I first got into doing podcasting and things like that. A lot of the people that I were affiliated with all had experiences, and I haven't had an experience at all. So they said a lot of stories, and we did a lot of research on these stories. So I got really into the pattern of aspects that would happen during these encounters. A lot of
Mm.
people saw this, a lot of people saw that, they felt this, they felt that,
Mhm.
and then you kind of get like this codex where you can look
Mhm.
at different experiences and say, okay, that lines up with what we've heard before, that doesn't. Then you kind of like see who is possibly in the right realm of telling the truth and who's not. So it's like you're going back and forth. And there's also a science aspect to that too, because these entities maybe have higher technological, advancements than we do. So we don't really know some of the ways that they can manipulate matter and, sound and light. And
That's
there's a
what
lot.
I don't like.
And that's what I like.
I
It is a
don't
scary situation. Definitely is.
Mm,
I mean, I think it's
that's
fascinating
intrusive.
if there's technology that can, you know, travel through space or wormholes, or even just some of these elements that are created so that space, the element 115, that's a possibility. If that's
Mhm.
even a possibility, that you have a metal that or an element that can not be destroyed. I mean, that's like groundbreaking and should be on this planet, used every day for things like the new Tesla truck, or I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
It should be in everyday use. Like, we should have this technology. We should be able to, I feel like things are holding us back. I feel like the technology's there. I think that we're being held back. There's
There's-
people holding us back.
Well,
I
you're,
don't
you're
like that.
thinking technology wise, and that sounds so nice.
Yeah.
But what
yeah.
about the fact of experiences of people that have been abducted, or people that have been,
That, yeah, like Calvin Parker.
tortured?
No. That's
and-
that is happening. Like, I 100% believe these people's
If
stories.
there is
that are
actually
happening.
a multidimensional being
Yes.
that exists, it should be somehow put in check, because it has no right to be
messing with us.
messing with
Mhm.
anybody, especially
That's scary.
without their
Yeah.
consent.
That's why I look towards the technology. It's a lot easier to process.
Right.
I like that. The
I'm about
other
human
aspect.
rights.
The other aspect of, like, okay, they come and find you in the middle of the night, and they like take you
Calvin,
away.
yeah,
and
like
do-
Calvin Parker.
and
He's
Calvin
just
Parker,
fishing,
I
minding
mean,
his own business.
like, he's in the documentary, and his story is fascinating, and I encourage anybody who wants to learn more
I'm
about
not
his
saying
experience.
it's true or it's not, but
It's
you know.
fascinating. I mean,
Well-
his experience is totally different than some of the other experiences that I've read about or heard about, and it's so interesting. And the reason why we interviewed him for the documentary is because he had a very similar experience that Alice had with the lights.
With the lights.
And these lights are just a different type of experience. I mean, it's just like, there's a ghostly experience with lights, but then there's like something that could be otherly, and that's what it seemed like, or it seems like, Alice's experience in her home. So, we had to kind of go outside of the box a little bit to try and figure out, could this
And I
have
haven't
been?
asked you, Rob, what is your impression? What do you think it was? Do you think it's more alien UFO, or it's more spirit, earthbound?
I think it's more spirit based myself. And one thing I wanted to say to you guys too is, if you're looking at, that there's with going back to UFOs and abductions, there's a duality with man. There's good and evil, and there's, we are a microcosm of the macro, which is the universe. We have stardust in us. So to believe, if there are alien entities out there are ones that are good and there are ones that are evil. It's just the duality of the universe in a whole, So, but I believe that it was definitely paranormal in the sense of entities of otherworldly, not so much out of this galaxy otherworldly, but of past the veil otherworldly.
Mhm.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
I-
Don't want to
yeah.
give away too much, because if
Okay,
people
yeah.
haven't, if people haven't really gotten into it, I would like them to, because I think it's super beneficial for people to see this documentary is just phenomenal, man, and it's just,
Oh,
Thank you.
it really is. It's awesome, and I want people to experience it for themselves without any kind of hindrance in what somebody else said. They really need to sit down and explore what it is to them, like how it affects them and how it stands in their mind when they see both sides of it. Like I said, with the skepticism, but the hardcore love of what you guys do too. It's integral, I think, that people see it like that, that they see that it has both aspects in it. I really do.
Good,
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. That's a huge compliment, and I'm grateful
I
to hear
appreciate
that.
Thank you
yeah.
for making it. I mean, I should be thanking you because it truly is amazing. That's how I feel, and I think everybody would have a good time enjoying what it is too. It's profound. It had a profound effect on me too. It was really great. It was really great.
We've noticed that from a lot of people that it somehow, we still don't know why, but it affected them
Yeah,
deeply.
They have a deep connection with the house.
Yeah,
It's a
house.
motivation.
the
It's a
story is
motivator.
complementary.
Yeah, it's easy to have a connection with Alice because she is just the most wonderful person ever, and her story is so fascinating. And you know, I see the connection, but it goes deeper than that, and it's very interesting. We get a lot of feedback, which we absolutely love because we're learning from the feedback. So anybody sends us a message, we get it and we appreciate it. And,
Yeah.
and
A lot of people complaining that it wasn't scary enough, but it's a documentary
it's
about a real story.
Right,
You know?
right.
It's not a Hollywood horror
it's not
movie.
it's not.
For me, it gave me motivation to conduct my investigations in that manner with both
Awesome.
sides. So it was a motivator, and that's part of the
Oh,
profound
good.
effect it
That
had.
was
Yeah,
our goal. We
yeah.
You
wanted
know,
that.
and I think that they should all be explored like that because there'd be so much more value obtained from all of the data and not just what I think I see, with a blinder on. All of the data is exemplary for us to figure out what is going on. I think it's beneficial to everybody to approach it like that. I really do.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
We had a lot of fun making it too. I mean, it was very paranormal, investigator driven. We wanted to make the documentary, for the paranormal community, but also the skeptics, like we talked about. And we actually
The general public.
Yeah, we left some stuff in for that hardcore paranormal investigator.
I still get messages.
It's
In
pretty
fact,
awesome,
that we just going today or yesterday. Somebody says, "Hey, in this part and a specific scene, I see some light, from the background, or I see this, or I see this light coming off." And I mean, everybody's like observing.
It's cool.
There's a lot of DVR footage.
Yeah.
So everybody, who is a paranormal investigator and is into this topic, they're like analyzing. They pause the film and they start looking in the mirrors, like reflections. It's fascinating.
So we try to make it fun.
Yeah.
That was another question I had for you. Was after you guys go back and look at it again now, do you see anything now differently than you did then, or maybe like like they said, like a light or some kind of different aspect that you maybe not have noticed during process editing, and now that it's a documentary?
Maybe the first year we were what, like
no, we watched this
we
like
saw, I mean
no.
thousands.
We know every frame of the movie.
I probably would too.
I think I watch it with like, there was so like filmmaker, there's a point where you're just like, I can't watch this anymore. You take a little break and you watch it again, and and then you go through, like, you watch all the raw footage, and like there was maybe 1,000 hours of DVR stuff. I mean, you go through everything, and we're lucky enough that Brad and John did the first. They found a lot of stuff through the years, so. But we had to catch up to them with the footage and go through everything. And, every frame of that film, we know it with our eyes closed, and there's nothing new that we would have found, but it's just neat that when people see what we saw and we left in, that it validates like kind of, it's like, okay, cool. They got it, and it's kind of neat to see them, to the messages that say, hey, I saw that. And it's cool to validate, kind of what we had seen a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, one thing I want to say, whenever it first came out, you could get it on Apple. And so I was sitting there at my computer waiting for it so I could start watching it. And as I sit there and I started watching it, I was like, oh my gosh, because I'm like, Rob, I like how you understand both ways, both sides to the story. And the other amazing thing was, this was weird. I have a cat, and she was sitting up there beside of me, and she was watching it. And at certain scenes, she would stop and get right up to the computer and stare. And at the same time, as she was doing that, I started paying more attention, and then I would see like floaty things that were going through. And when I say that, it's sort of like a mist, and she would pick that up. And so, that's something I was like, well, that's amazing that she is seeing these things, because I mean, she would get right up on my computer, and I was like having to push her over, and I was like, Feather, you got to move. But she would not, she would cry. And so she was picking up things just by watching it also.
Wow.
That's interesting. We've gotten a lot of comments from people saying
Animals,
their pets reacted.
Somebody had a dog that was freaking out.
towards
That's
the
so
end of it. Yeah.
interesting. Wow.
That's like when a dog knows a storm's coming. They have this extra perception that they can literally like initiate at any time, and it gives them this heightened sense of everything. It's wild to explore. I've actually looked into it a little bit. It's pretty crazy.
But what do you think an animal will pick up from a
Vibrations or movements in the electromagnetic fields affect
through
them
the
differently.
cameras? Like, able together through the film,
So,
and it can be translated through.
I always wondered
TV?
about that. It's
Well,
like,
think about it. Everything vibrates at a frequency, right?
yeah.
So they can pick up, whether it's in front of them or on film, a difference in a frequency that's not accustomed to what they're used to, which is why they can sense a storm that's 50 miles away, or an earthquake that's 38 miles away from where they are. They're not feeling a vibration. They're feeling the atmosphere around them. Now, when you're looking at when you're looking at specific material, even though it's on your TV,
Yeah.
you start vibrating at a different frequency, which makes them heightened. The person watching it, everything vibrates, and everybody vibrates at a specific frequency. So when that frequency is manipulated in any way, whether you have anxiety, depression, excitement, sadness, your vibration changes. You vibrate at a different level now.
Interesting.
I'm gonna look into that.
You know what? You're getting the wheels turning here. So like cameras, they will cap you at a certain frequency, like 50 hertz or 60 hertz, right? So that means if that hypothesis is true, that this frequency is lower than that, than the 50 or 60 hertz, depending on where you're at, which is very interesting. I don't know the level of the low level of the hertz in the video, but yeah, maybe we can get some people to chime in on that. That's a very good.
Explore that a little bit, right?
I mean, I know I've seen a paranormal documentary that said, things can kind of come through the film, and I've never really put much into that. I don't know enough about it, and I don't know if I believe that or not, but now that you talk about the frequency and how it possibly could be, that makes it a little more feasible. That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Well, one other thing is, I've dealt with leukemia, and I got into remission, and my cat, months ago, she would not leave me alone. She kept bothering me, would try to bite on me. And before, when that happened, it was an indication that my leukemia had came back.
Oh.
And so they can pick up things like that, because she was right on the money with it. And it was like, I was just amazed, because she was just like, she would not leave me alone at night. If I didn't let her in my bedroom, she would cry, sit at my door and cry and cry. I would let her in. She would get up on the bed, and she would lay right beside of me, if not on me. And then once I went to the doctor, found out the leukemia was back, started treatment, she stopped doing that. It was like she could see that whatever was going on was getting better, and she just leaves me alone. So I truly believe that cats can see the vibrational or the frequencies and the things that's going on with you, because it was her that alerted me to it.
That's so interesting. I always want to
That's
do a
amazing.
documentary
I
and
know,
all
that's
that.
amazing. Yeah, animal
I
sensing.
love it.
That's
I mean,
fascinating.
you've heard a lot of
Oh
stories.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've had
pets.
experiences in that house in Fairplay that, there was a dog that was barking at the air because it like saw something. I feel like they can sense, you know, sense things for sure. I know that I've had dogs in the past. If you weren't feeling well, it would like cuddle up to you. And how does a dog know that you're not feeling well? You're sick. There's more to it for sure. And yeah, that's
Absolutely. I think they have a couple of heightened things. Their eyesight isn't the best because they don't see in color, most dogs. So they have a heightened sense of smells, like we know that for a fact. And their heightened see, like their frequencies are very when they shift, they are very aware of it. So they have other senses that compensate for that lack of vision. Like when you have somebody, God forbid, who's blind, they say that they get extra perception of hearing.
oh yeah,
You're
yeah,
further. It's sort of that same concept. They say.
yeah.
Yeah.
One sense goes away, the other gets heightened.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Very interesting.
Well, it's definitely something to think about. One more aspect I wanted before we close shop here. I know you guys are into drone footage. I saw some of the pictures that you took. Absolutely beautiful, like of the different landscapes.
Oh yeah.
What got you into that in the first place? I know because of the camera and cinematography,
Uh-huh.
but
Yeah.
is there an aspect that's like you always try to get like the best shot you can, or
Mhm.
things like that?
Yeah, I mean, my motto is anything for the shot, and I've risked myself numerous times for that. But yeah, the drone that has been with me for a long time. I was a jib operator, which is it's a camera crane. It's a long
Mhm.
arm and very similar to the drone. The controls are very similar to flying a drone. And when I started seeing drones first kind of come out, people were flying. They were called quadcopters back then, and they were mounting small cameras to them, and they weren't quite there yet. And I remember seeing it. And it changed my life. I saw it, and I saw the camera on there, and I was like, I need to learn that. I need to do that. And I bought this little like this little toy copter, and I crashed it. She was there. It was terrible.
Oh, he crashed several ones.
It was no GPS, right into a tree, right into the house,
One took off.
It was like, oh my God. And then I had a friend that told me about DJI, which is one of the best drone companies out there, but they were just starting, and they had this copter that had GPS that like could fly better, and it came with a little GoPro mount. And I can't remember how many years ago. I want to say like 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, maybe longer. It's been just, I use it all the time now, and it's just a part of me. It's an extension of my body. And so, yeah, I was probably one of the first people to ever mount a gimbal to a quadcopter. I got this DJI, and I was obsessed with getting usable footage. The footage was too you couldn't use more than 2 seconds of it. It was too much vibration. So I used like shoe soles, like like the gels on a sole. I cut those up, put them underneath, and then I put the GoPro into like a higher frame rate, and it didn't do the jello, and so I was almost there, and then I was on eBay, and there was this model aircraft guy that was making these like gimbals, and he was out of Syracuse, New York, in his basement, and I bought one, and I was able to attach that to the quadcopter.
So you were filming,
and so
on a drone
before anybody else was on a drone with a gimbal, and like I actually manipulated I took the whole drone apart in my hotel room and soldered to the board, and like I was just like gun ho about it. And it worked. I mean, I just wanted to learn it. Anything I've ever wanted to learn, I've either built or like just figured it out, and that's the drone. I mean, and now I got like a bunch of drones, and my favorite is the Inspire 2, which gets those beautiful shots. It's a 5.2K camera. It's fast. You can chase cars with it, and it's beautiful. It's just awesome.
You got to put innovator on your bio. Innovator. Not only all the other stuff, you got to put innovator on there. you've innovated something that's going to give people a better understanding of landscape and portrait pictures and the way you've done it and the maneuvering of it. You got to put innovator on there. I said it. It's got to be done. That's it.
There you go.
That's it.
It doesn't feel right, but I appreciate that.
No,
I
you're
mean,
so humble, but it's true. You're always doing that. It's who you are.
It was going there. It was going to be, it was inevitable. I mean, drones came on the scene. It's like, now they're everywhere and you can't live without them. I mean, it's a huge production value for simple, easy cost, you know?
Yeah.
It's great.
Definitely. Melinda, did you have any other questions before we close up shop here?
No, but I would like to say that I've really enjoyed tonight. You two are my favorite, and I can't help but say that because you I mean, I just feel some kind of connection to you guys, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come on with us.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely. We're so excited. You know, you are in our heart.
As you guys are in mine.
Amazing.
I feel the same way as well. It was really awesome to pick your brain and talk to you guys about everything. Truly inspiring work you do. I hope to one day fulfill the same shoes that you guys have done up to this point. I mean, like I said, you're innovators of your craft. You've done things that have inspired me on a profound level. And I just want to say thank you for that. And hopefully we can stay in contact and learn more from each other. I love picking each other's brains and really getting to know each other better. I think it'll be really, really great. But I thank you as well for coming on. It's so great.
It was a pleasure talking to you. I mean,
you
got kind of brainy sometimes. I love that. I miss that.
I can't help it. It's just say it happens. It happens.
I love it. Thank you.
Great show. I appreciate it.
Yes, I really enjoyed this show.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Why don't you tell everybody else where they can find you guys to follow your work and everything like that?
Yeah. So for the movie, The House in Between, you can go to thehouseinbetween.com. We're on 26 different platforms. You can find us on Google Play, Amazon, and iTunes are the main ones, but there's 26 others that you can find us. For me, you can just search me on Facebook, Instagram, Kendal Whelpton. And yeah, you can see what's next for Vera and I.
And then Vera Whelpton, Facebook, Instagram. I don't do Twitter a whole lot. I never got into it. Maybe I should have, but you know.
Yeah.
And then Robot Ninja Media is our company. So if you have a story and you know you got a lot of evidence that you've had, or you know just you want to talk to us, robotninjamedia.com.
Awesome. From me and Melinda, we want to thank you guys again for coming on. And to the audience out there, if you haven't shared this already, please do so. Hit the like button. Let everybody know who these lovely people are. If you don't know who they are, you probably live under a rock, but let everybody see the interview that we did today. And with that being said, from us to you, the Seer and the Scholar, and hopefully from the Whelptons, we will all see you soon. Thank you for stopping by, and have a great evening.
You too. It was a pleasure.